Okay, so I'm going to take the political compass test. A little nervous. I never did very well on tests in school. So, though I did just take a Star Wars personality test with my son, one of those things that tells you which Star Wars character you are. And so I don't know a lot about Star Wars, but I was hoping that I would be, I don't know, Spock or Frodo or somebody. But turns out I'm Emperor, the Emperor guy, Emperor Ovaltine or whatever his name is. Anyway, this will be good. As everybody knows, and as Media Matters especially knows, I am a theocratic fascist, a believer in subjugating and oppressing people, especially women and minorities, and anyone else who defies me and my own personal views. So this will be interesting to see how this turns out. Okay, let's see. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Strongly disagree. You know, corporations have wealth. Humanity is largely poor. Poor people, as we know, are not worth as much as rich people. And so, that's science. I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. Strongly agree. Now, caveat here is America is never wrong, but even if it was, I would still support it. I mean, we could drop an atomic bomb on Australia and I would still be on board. I would still say, okay, I'm with my country all the way. And actually, that might not be such a bad idea because of all the spiders down there. I know there are a lot of people too, but, it's sacrifices have to be made, guys. I'm sorry. No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Strongly disagree. And besides, I did choose my country of birth. I actually communicated with my mother in the womb, tapping on the uterine wall in Morse code, telling her to move to America to give birth to me. And so I'm a true patriot from conception. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Oh, geez. Strongly agree. Absolutely. Absolutely agree. Listen, first of all, the white race has a few things. It really has three things going for it, as far as I can tell. Number one, it has me. Okay, that's a big thing. Number two, we have cargo shorts. Okay, which are very stylish and practical. And number three, we walk quickly in hallways. We're very quick, fast hallway walkers, which I think is a positive trait. You know. All right. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Strongly agree. I have found that mutual hate is often forms the basis of very deep and lasting friendships. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Strongly agree. I mean, that's the best kind of military action, isn't it? What other kind would we ever do? There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. I strongly agree, but only because there should only be entertainment for the masses. I think information is dangerous and should be disseminated only to approved parties, not to the whole mass of people. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. Disagree. I'm still going to say strongly, even though I have no real opinion. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Well, strongly agree. Let me tell you why. I have a job. So I'm not worried about unemployment. You see, that's kind of your problem when it comes down to it. I also have money, and so inflation hurts me more personally than unemployment, and so obviously I'm more worried about that. And plus, inflation hurts the rich more, and we've already established rich people are more important. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. This is a tough one. Because on one hand, I believe in destroying the environment. I think that's a great idea. I care more about corporations than the environment. On the other, I love regulating things and imposing my will on others. So I don't know which way to go with it. But I guess I'll say I strongly disagree on this one. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. Well, it depends on who is deciding what a person's needs are. If it's me deciding, I would strongly agree. But if it's not me, and for the time being it isn't, I'll have to hit strongly disagree, I suppose. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Strongly disagree. I think all water should be bottled and sold. Bottle up the ocean too. Everything. If you want an ocean, pay for it. Enough of these freeloaders. I went to the beach last summer. I was appalled by all these people. They don't pay any toll. There's no entry fee. Just go charging into the water. Who gave you permission to do that? Is my question. Disgraceful. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. Well, obviously, I strongly disagree. I mean, if we're selling water, we should sell land too. We should sell everything we can, really, when it comes down to it. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Strongly disagree. Manipulation of money is a contribution to society. Somebody's got to do it. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Strongly agree. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Strongly agree. The rich are too highly taxed. Strongly agree. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Strongly agree. And I feel like we're returning again and again to this theme here, but I've already established that rich people's lives are worth more. So obviously it's more important to get them care. The only change I would make here, just in framing this, is I would ask, should the poor receive medical treatment at all? And I think that gets closer to, and that's a controversial question. You could kind of, there are different views on that. But government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Well, it really depends. Are they misleading you for your own good? For example, is it a chemical company dumping toxic sludge into a river, in which case lying about it can be good, so that it doesn't give you anxiety when you think about all the sludge you're drinking and showering in? That's going to make you feel bad to know that. And so for your own good, they're going to dump the sludge and lie about it. So I'm going to strongly disagree. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. So we keep running into this problem where my answer really depends on who is in charge, right? And if it's me, then sure, I'm going to restrict. I'm going to be restricting a lot of stuff when I'm in charge. But if it's not me, then it's different. So I guess I'll disagree. The freer the market, the freer the people. Freedom is overrated. So are people. So let's say strongly disagree. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Strongly agree. But I want to be clear. This is not because every life is sacred and life has inherent value. That's not my point. My point is, I want to control women. And I want all the women dressed in red bonnets, like in Handmaid's Tale. Or is it white bonnets with red robes? Whatever the getup is. You know what? But I'm going to want the red bonnet. Red bonnet, white robe is what I want. And so that's the main reason I'm against abortion. It's got nothing to do with all the dead people, right? Nobody would be opposed to abortion on those grounds. All authority should be questioned. Strongly disagree. Authority is authority for a reason. Know your role. Fall in line. You hippie. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Strongly agree, except sometimes it might be eye for a finger, toe for a tooth. The exchange rate can really differ, but the basic sentiment, I think, the basic premise, I think, is good. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Strongly disagree. I believe that the Bible Museum should be funded and weekly attendance should be mandatory. And that should be a law in the books. School should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Well, I think all children between the ages of 1 and 19 should be in school for 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, 9 months a year, 10 months a year, actually. If they're not in school, what are they doing? They're out reading Harry Potter, throwing rocks at objects, and we can't have that. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Strongly agree. In fact, I find myself saying at least 4 or 5 times a day, we don't want your kind around here. Now get! With the G-I-T. You got to pronounce it that way when you're telling someone. And in fact, I said that to a Canadian this morning when he tried to get on the elevator with me. And it's not just because of the coronavirus. I would say that regardless if it's a Canadian. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Sometimes? Strongly agree, but it's kind of an understatement. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Strongly disagree. It is not natural for my children to do or say anything that I find distasteful. And if it is natural, then you better change your nature right quick, as I always say to my kids. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Strongly disagree. All potheads should be tied to a pole in the town square, and so that the townsfolk can come and throw tomatoes at them for 5 days. And while they're throwing the tomatoes, they should say things like, "Here's some munchies for you, you filthy stoner." Stuff like that. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Strongly agree. Why else would you go to school? To learn? That's not what... Building your resume, that's what this is about. You build the resume so you can get the hell out of my house and become a tax-paying citizen by the age of 11. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Strongly agree, but I believe that all people should have to submit applications to the government's Reproduction Regulation and Enforcement Division, the RRED, before engaging in any sexual activity. So when I'm in charge, there'll be a whole, we'll figure it out, but there'll be a whole agency of government where, if you want to engage in a sexual act, you fill out a couple forms, you submit it, it'll be reviewed, we'll get back to you in 6 to 8 weeks. We'll try to streamline it as much as possible. But the point is, we can't just let people do what they want. The most important thing for children is to learn is to accept discipline. Strongly agree. There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. Strongly disagree. Like I mentioned before, Canadians, a deeply savage and primitive race of people, frankly. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Strongly agree, obviously. When you're troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. Strongly disagree. I find it much more helpful to dwell on your anxieties at all hours of the day, like a real man. Cheerfulness is for women. First-generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. Strongly agree, which is why I favor the deportation of all immigrants, even legal ones, first, second, third, and fourth generations. I would say we should deport all of them. So I don't care. Your great-great-grandfather came here from Italy back in 1852. You're gone, buddy. Okay? This is America. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. Yeah, I find that's generally a good philosophy of life. What I always say is WWCD. What would corporations do? That's how I decide how I'm going to operate on a day-to-day basis. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Strongly agree. Okay. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Well, this question insinuates that it's bad to have our civil liberties excessively curbed, so I'll strongly disagree on that. But, of course, in reality, they are being curbed, and that's a good thing. The best thing to do with a civil liberty is to curb it. Only pot smokers and nudists care about civil liberties, I have found. A significant advantage of one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. Strongly agree. It's a lot better, I've found, to just have one approved point of view, and it really is just a lot more efficient that way. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Strongly agree. Absolutely. Okay, you don't want a drone peering through your bedroom window at night? Why is that? You meeting with the Taliban? What are you doing in there? The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. I'm going to say I strongly agree with the caveat that I would have it for less serious crimes also. That would be my go-to for pretty much any crime, honestly, except the ones that I commit. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. Strongly agree. Absolutely. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Strongly agree, and I would refer back to the death penalty question for the rest of my answer on that one. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Strongly agree. Frankly, it's a waste of time to rehabilitate criminals. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. Well, there you go. Strongly agree. The business person and manufacturer are more important than the writer and artist. Strongly agree. Writers are communists. Artists are degenerates. No exceptions. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. I'm going to say I strongly agree, but of course, they shouldn't have careers at all. I'm going to agree with the general sentiment. Now, if you can find time for a career after you've cooked me 3 meals a day, ironed all my clothes and everything else, then we can talk. But multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. Strongly disagree, because it's not unethical. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Strongly, strongly agree. Astrology accurately explains many things. Strongly disagree. And all such voodoo should be banned. You cannot be moral without being religious. Strongly agree, which is a big reason why I believe in theocracy. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. I guess I'll say I strongly agree, but of course this assumes that the disadvantaged should be helped in the first place, which is a controversial proposition in the that we'd have to talk about. But some people are naturally unlucky. Luck is also voodoo and should be banned. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. Strongly agree. Okay, light at the end of the tunnel. Last page. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Strongly agree. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Strongly agree. Or strongly disagree, sorry. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Well, you guys already know what I'm saying on this one. I don't even think I have to answer it. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Strongly disagree. Remember the drone I mentioned earlier. There's a lot people can do in their bedrooms. You never know. And that's why the state has to keep a tabs on things, because you never know what somebody's going to get up to in the bedroom. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Strongly agree, though in fairness, I'm convinced that all feelings are unnatural and ill-advised. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. Strongly agree. Okay, now for the results. Political compass, where am I on the thing? Oh, we see Hitler there. There's Hitler. Where am I? Okay, I register as 6.5, economic left-right, social libertarian / authoritarian 8.21. I don't know what that means, but I'm looking at the chart, and according to this, I am a right-wing authoritarian fascist. Sounds about right. That's exactly right. More right-wing than Hitler, a little bit less authoritarian, which is disappointing. How am I not... See, I was shooting for I wanted to get all the way to the top right corner. I wanted to be as authoritarian as possible and as right-wing as possible. I was going all the way for that corner spot, and I missed it. What question did I get? What question did I not answer correctly to get there? So that means I was slightly liberal on a few of those answers. And now I got to do it all over again, I guess, to get the real answer, which I'm not going to make you guys watch.